Welcome to another episode of Ikeze Talk Sports, your number one page and channel for premium banter, match analysis, tactical analysis, football content in general, and much more. But today I'm going to be doing a review of the Mancity game that was just concluded. That's the Fulham against Mancity, and then the Barcelona game, Barcelona against Atletico Madrid. What a game of football, by the way. It was a great game for neutrals, right? The score ended 4-0 Fulham and 5 to Manchester City. Now, here's the thing. For me, I am not sold. I have not been convinced. I've not been convinced with or convinced on Manchester City's defense so far. Because if you look at the last couple of games, they have conceded so many goals. They conceded 2 against Leverkusen, they conceded 2 against Leeds, and now they've conceded 4 against Fulham. Right? If you check the defense line, it's the usual suspects. The usual culprits. I'm talking about the likes of Ruben Diaz, Josko Gvardiol, Matheus Nunes, and Nico O'Reilly. But they've been poor. And I made a video. I said, honestly, they are average at best. And here's the thing. With all due respect to Pep Guardiola, I think he's such a brilliant coach. He's up there as one of the greatest coaches or managers of all time, along with the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger, and so on and so forth, Ancelotti, right? But it comes to a point where, your ideas, they seem to, not be working anymore, right? Now, I'm not saying Pep has gotten to that point yet, but I'm saying that the signs are there. The signings that Man City have been making in the last 2 transfer windows are not typical Manchester City signings. In my opinion, these are signings that have been underwhelming. I'm talking about the likes of Tijani Reinders. I'm talking about the likes of Ayin Nuri, Cherki. I'm still going to give him time. I don't think he fits, the Man City way of playing. I think he's kind of like a lazy player. But I'm talking about the likes of Savinho. I'm talking about the likes of Nico Gonzalez, Kusanov, and some other players like that. These are not typical Manchester City signings that we've known, right? So, like I said, and in that team, they don't have a lot of world beaters. I think the people that actually established world-class players in that team are about 3 or 4. Rodri, Haaland, Donnarumma, and I think, honestly, those 3, Doku and Foden, they are above average. I'll give it to them. But the rest of the squad, in my opinion, they are average at best. And I said it in the last episode, and people thought I was crazy, but the results don't lie. If you look at their ratings, the player ratings, they've been averaging. Ruben Diaz in the game against Fulham, his rating was 6.0. O'Reilly 5.3, Nunes 6.4. If you check the game against Newcastle, where they lost, Nunes 6.4, Gvardiol 6.4, O'Reilly 6.0. If you check the game against Leeds, which was last week, which they won, but they conceded 2, Josko Gvardiol 6.2, O'Reilly 6.4, Nunes 5.7, Ruben Diaz 6.7. Like, this is a stark difference from what we used to know, or what we've come to know about Manchester City and the defense when they had the likes of Kompany. And honestly, I was having an argument with my friend, and I said, even when they had the likes of De Bruyne, they had that fear factor, because I think there's a saying, and I think it was when Pep built this ultimate Barcelona team back then, right? When they had the likes of Messi, Suarez, Neymar, Xavi, Iniesta in the midfield. And people used to say attack is the best form of defense. When people are really scared about your attack, your defense doesn't really suffer that much, because you are dominant on the ball, you are always with the ball, that kind of thing. So for Pep's teams, I think his defense has always blown under the radar. Now, I'm not saying he didn't have a great defense at Barcelona or at Bayern Munich, but compared to his attack, the defense has always been shaky. But now he has a team where the attack is not as strong. Like, they don't really have that fear factor. Honestly, I don't think a Premier League teams are really scared of Foden or even Doku. Everyone is terrified of Haaland, right? Because on his day, Haaland will destroy anybody. But Foden, Doku, these are players that are not consistent. So what that means is that a lot of teams are now trying their luck against this Man City defense. They are being found out in the absence of Rodri, and they are going at this defense, and the result is there. They are drinking goals, and it is not sustainable. Yes, they are currently second in the league, 2 goals off Arsenal, who has a game to play, but it is not sustainable. You cannot continue the season conceding as many goals as you are conceding, right? It is just not sustainable, So honestly, I would just give it to their system. Pep deploys one of the best system, and I said it in the last episode that I dropped concerning Mancity. I said the system elevates the players. That's what the system does. The system turns average players to look like they are world class. But once you're able to beat that system with your tactics or with your resilience or with whatever you're bringing to the game as an opposition, you quickly find this defense. You find them out. You break through this defense. Honestly, like I said, this game against Fulham, it was a very close game and it was very on Manchester City like. Yes, it was away, but it is Fulham. It's a team where you expect Man City to dominate. Yes, Man City had a better XG. They had 2.21 XG. Fulham had 0.9. But then Fulham were able to score 4 goals from that XG. So that should tell you a lot. Fulham had much more ball possession. It's about being effective with the possession. But like I said, Man City having 43% possession is something we have to start getting used to when they go to a place like Fulham. Fulham had more shots than Man City, 12 to 11, right? So when you're looking at the number of passes, Fulham had more passes than Manchester City. That is very uncharacteristic of Manchester City. So these are the issues. And like I said, I do not think that it is sustainable. And if you look at their next set of fixtures, I think they're also going to play, Crystal Palace, and then they have Real Madrid. So these are games where I expect that they will drop points. So they're a very physical and tough side. Man City haven't been good at home. They also haven't been good away. And recent results is there to suggest that. So these are very exciting games coming up. And hopefully, like I said, I see them dropping points. But if there's one team that is able to turn this result, their current fortunes around over the course of the season, because honestly, we're still in November. The season is a very long season. If there's a team that can turn it around, it is definitely Man City. They have the experience, they have the mentality to be able to do that. They have a brilliant coach I know he will be constantly telling the players, what they need to change, what needs to be corrected. But like I said, the recruitment, in my opinion, has been bad, right? And let's see where they will end up come the end of the season. Now to the other game, which was Barcelona. It was a comfortable victory. Honestly, in general, when you look at it in hindsight, it was a comfortable victory for Barcelona against Atletico Madrid. But you see this island that Barcelona keep playing. I see every game that I watch Barcelona that they concede is always that team breaking the island. Now, here's the thing: if and when Barcelona faces a serious team, a good side, a relatively good side, they run the risk of being beaten. I'm an Arsenal fan. Every time I watch Barcelona play, I'm always licking my lips. Like, this island, Gyökeres will feast, Martinelli will feast. These are the kind of games that they like. These are the kind of games that they like. Because I don't know why Flick wants to remain stubborn and insist on this island. Yes, no risk, no reward, right? They are top of the league. They are doing well, honestly. But then it's La Liga. It is La Liga. No disrespect to La Liga, but La Liga, the teams in La Liga are not the Atletico Madrid that they beat today. Now Arsenal beat them in the Champions League 4-0, and Atletico Madrid did cause Barcelona problems, right? All the other teams, honestly, there isn't really much fuss about them, and that's why you say that right now in the Champions League, even a team like, I think it was Club Brugge, are constantly breaching their high line and scoring Barcelona for fun. Chelsea beat them 3-0 the other day. It's this island. I think Flick needs to, check that, especially in the Champions League, because if they continue to play the island, I don't see them going far, honestly. What I would say also is, I think Pedri is their best player. Whenever Pedri plays on that pitch, everyone plays better. He elevates the atmosphere. He elevates the quality of the team. He's so calm on the ball. I've never seen someone so calm on the ball in tight spaces and is able to direct play. I would do anything to have that guy at my club. Brilliant assist for Rafinha's goal, first goal since he came back from his injury. And honestly, I think it's a boost for Barcelona to have Rafinha back. I think is their leader in the attack. He's their leader in the attack. Rashford did well, deputizing in his absence. But honestly, by the time we look at their contribution and especially how they play, how direct decision making, right? Familiar with the system, I think Rafinha edges Rashford by far. So I don't see how Rashford is going to regain his shirt, especially if Rafinha is able to remain fit, right? It was a good goal by Ferran Torres to wrap up the victory. I'm still not convinced by him. I think he's I think it's below average, and a lot of Barcelona players will agree with me. Ferran Torres, Araujo, Eric Garcia. These are players that, honestly, if Barcelona had money, if they're not in their financial situation, I think they would have gotten rid of these players. They would have gotten rid of these players a long time ago, right? But still, regardless, it was a good goal by Ferran Torres, and it was a great victory by Barca to cement their position at the top of the table. Now, I just want to touch on one last thing, which is Lamine Yamal. Unbelievable talent. I love that boy. But you see, Yamal, for you to take for him to take that next stage, for him to get to that next level, take his game to the next level, he needs to work on his finishing. Lamine Yamal, you need to work on your finishing. Honestly, that is the only thing left. Now, I'm not saying his finishing is bad. He scores bangers from outside the box. You know, if you check his goal catalog, he has scored a lot of bangers. But you see that consistency with finishing, I don't think it is there as of yet. And he's young. He has a lot of time. He has a long time, to work on that finishing. If he can clock and, perfect that finishing, he's going to be an unstoppable player. That boy I saw wonders today. That guy, forget what Cucurella did. That was just an off game. Players have off games every time. Even Messi, he has off games. Ronaldo, best players, they have off games. And the game against Chelsea was one of those games. But Lamine Yamal, an unbelievable talent. But he needs to work on his finishing. Anyways, brilliant victory for Barca. Also, it was a good victory for Mancity nonetheless. Those are the two major games that were played, today, and I felt like I wanted to say, one or two things about them. Arsenal plays tomorrow. We play Brentford. I did a pre-match preview. I did a pre-match review of the game with my friend Swiss. You can check the link in this video if you are an Arsenal fan and you'd like to see the talking points for that particular episode. Thank you very much. If you like this content, please like, share, comment, tell me how you feel about the games as well. Tell me how you feel about what I just said about Mancity, if you agree with me or if you don't. Share your opinions, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next time. Bye guys.